What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we've got another 2024 fantasy football mock draft for you. We're going to do this via FantasyPros. It will be a 10-team full PPR mock where we will be selecting from the 10th overall position our roster: one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and then five bench spots. But that's pretty much it. So let's kick this thing off. And while we wait for it to load, a quick reminder: if you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section. Agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. We'll do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get into it. We're on the clock. The first couple of picks have been made. Let's take a look at the draft board. Now, obviously, look, again, I say this with all of these mock drafts. It's still very early on, and things will change, but this is part of the fun. This is why we do these mock drafts early on, at the middle point of the process, and then towards the end when things pick up in August and September, because it's interesting to see how these values change, what happens with injuries, with battles, etc., etc. But look, the first pick, Christian McCaffrey at the 101. You guys, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know I've been a proponent of you go with the elite running back first. And McCaffrey, when he's healthy, he's just that. If you were technically in the minority, but followed me on that last year, it paid off pretty well. And now, wouldn't you know it, because with fantasy football, it's all about recency bias, whether we like it or not, overreactions. McCaffrey is the 101 pick. That's going to be the case, I would say, every single mock draft that we do, unless there's some complete craziness. But after that, you see the run on wide receivers, which it's going to be one of these four guys, right? CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, just kind of flip-flop on the order. More often than not, I see CeeDee Lamb first overall, then probably Tyreek, and then Justin Jefferson, then Jamar Chase. But afterwards, it's kind of more back to the running back position. Guys like Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, Amon-Ra in this situation is sandwiched between the two. I don't really have any issues with the first 8 picks. I would show some love to the running backs again, even after McCaffrey, with Breece and Bijan a little bit earlier on, but that's just me. There's question marks with some of these wide receivers, like Kirk Cousins isn't in Minnesota anymore, for example. Puka Nacua after his amazing season at the 109. I do think that's probably a little bit too early when you look at some of these other wide receivers. I think Cooper Kupp is also going to bounce back a little bit. Like, for example, I love Garrett Wilson here, and I think with Aaron Rodgers back for a fully healthy season, like, it's going to be the Garrett Wilson show. Yes, I know Mike Williams was added, but he's older. He's coming off a serious injury, so let's keep that in mind as well. So one of our first picks here was Garrett Wilson. We've got the back-to-back picks. With the positives come the negatives with these back-to-back selections on either side of the extremes, whether first or last overall. Nice thing, you get back-to-back picks. On the flip side, though, you're going to have to wait a long time in between selections afterwards. So I really do think here sometimes you can reach for players a little bit more so, but also trying to get that balance. Now, we've got some more flexibility here since it is a 10-team league. Teams are going to be deeper, more top-heavy. But here, I think there's going to be a run on the running back position. And with that being the case, I'm looking at 2 names here. Actually, probably 3 names. I lied. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley. I would have another tier cut after those 3 guys for sure. So to me, if we're kind of just breaking down the positives of each of these guys, with Jahmyr Gibbs, he's on a high-octane offense. The best pass catcher out of Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley. On the downside, he's got to split time with Dave Montgomery. And if both guys stay healthy the entirety of the season, that's going to limit the upside. There were times when Montgomery was injured last year, so Gibbs really showed out. But even when both were healthy and available, Gibbs still was able to get his. On with Jonathan Taylor next, he's got to contend with Anthony Richardson, a high-octane rushing type of quarterback. That's going to take away opportunities. And then we have got Saquon Barkley on the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts. Similar type of situation, but honestly, I'd prefer Saquon Barkley over Jonathan Taylor. I think he's got better pass catching upside. And, he doesn't have to split as much time as a Jahmyr Gibbs. But in full PPR, I do think Jahmyr Gibbs probably has a little bit of a higher floor than both Taylor and Saquon Barkley. So let's go with Jahmyr Gibbs. But Saquon Barkley is a very, very, very close second. And, next time we do this exercise, I very well could switch it up with Saquon Barkley. Obviously, things are subject to change as we move forward. Let's go back to the draft board because I'm sure there's been some interesting picks. So A.J. Brown, I didn't want to draft A.J. Brown because if I went back-to-back wide receivers, I knew there would be a fall off the running back position, which is definitely the case in my opinion. Then Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, great picks. DJ Moore, I think that's early for DJ Moore. I love DJ Moore, but folks, there are going to be a lot of mouths to feed in Chicago. Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, so let's not forget that. Sam Laporta at the 206. That is, I think, in my opinion, probably right around where the first tight end should go. So happy to see it's not at the end of the first round or early second round. Then Brendan Ayuk, Michael Pittman, Marvin Harrison, first rookie wide receiver. I wouldn't select Marvin Harrison over somebody like a Drake London or potentially even an Olave or a Devontae Adams. Kyron Williams at the 210. He's going to be an interesting case study this year with Corum being added there. You could say the same for A-Chain in that Miami backfield. A lot of mouths to feed. But he does have the highest upside. There are going to be dud weeks in there, though. Travis Etienne afterwards, then Josh Allen first quarterback, then Nico Collins, Devontae Adams, Chris Olave. Trey McBride, second tight end off the board, and then Josh Jacobs. So typically, I'm not a guy that goes tight end this early on, but typically, we don't have Travis Kelce available to us at the end of the third round. However, age is getting up there. The Chiefs have added a lot of other weapons. Rashee Rice really came out last year. And then you also have the addition of Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy. But I still think Kelce is going to be involved. And wow, I really like the upside, let's say, of a Evan Ingram or a Kyle Pitts later on. I do think there's something to be said about just going very, very good value here. And I think Travis Kelce would be that. Like, to me, he's still going to be a top 3 tight end, probably, as long as he stays healthy. So I'm going to go with Travis Kelce. I think he's probably right around that, range, though, when you consider the age, things like that. This might be the final year of top-notch Travis Kelce performances that we get. The falling off the cliff could be coming soon. Next up, though, we go with wide receiver or running back again, potentially. I didn't necessarily love the running backs that I'm looking at right now. Rachaad White, Derrick Henry. I'm not the biggest believer in Derrick Henry. I think he's another guy that you look at the age, you could be concerned about, a potential fall off. Also, he's going to Baltimore. He is going to have to contend with Lamar Jackson. He's not a pass-catching running back. Rachaad White had a great season, but a lot of it was predicated on that pass-catching success. I think we can wait later on for another running back. Here at the wide receivers, though, I'm looking at the value. Mike Evans, I'm going to pass on Mike Evans. I'd rather go with somebody that, has an elite quarterback attached to them. Maybe somebody like a Stephon Diggs. Maybe somebody like a Jalen Waddle. I think probably here it's a coin flip between Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, maybe Cooper Kupp as well. So the way I'm going to approach this situation is probably go with Stephon Diggs. I know he was disappointing last year, but look, part of that is I think just the usage, it didn't make sense, disgruntled. There's a reason why the Bills traded him. But I think with C.J. Stroud, yes, Nico Collins is there, Tank Dell is there, but Diggs, I think at worst case, is going to be the number 2. So I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs. I think he's going to be a little bit safer than, you know, let's say Jalen Waddle, but it's really, really close. I think you could argue Jalen Waddle has the higher upside. So looking at our draft board again here, we see some more names. So a run on the running back position: Derrick Henry, Rashad White, Alvin Kamara, Pacheco, Joe Mixon, James Cook, then Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Debo, Malik Neighbors goes ahead of names like Jalen Waddle, which is crazy to me. But I will say I like the value on Malik Neighbors a lot more than that of Marvin Harrison, because I think with Marvin Harrison, I see a scenario with Marvin Harrison finishing outside the top 12 wide receivers much easier than inside. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson run on quarterbacks here, Kenneth Walker, Ramondre Stevenson, Jalen, DK Metcalf, Devonta Smith. So we're back on the clock. We still only have one running back, by the way. Looking at our roster, Jahmyr Gibbs is the main guy. So I do want to go one running back here, and I think Aaron Jones, with Dalvin Cook no longer there, they kind of cleaning house. Aaron Jones makes sense in Minnesota, and then we could double up on running backs with somebody like a DeAndre Swift, but I really like Cooper Kupp. I think he's going to bounce back, and I think he's still got a little bit more left in the tank. He wasn't 100% last year, and like all he has to contend with is Puka Nacua. If we went with somebody like a Keenan Allen's got to contend again. I said it before. He's got to contend with DJ Moore. He has to contend with Rome Odunze. So I prefer Cooper Kupp here. What we're going to do is we're going to go with Aaron Jones with our first pick, and then we're going to go with Cooper Kupp. I mean, the order doesn't really matter all that much, to be honest with you guys. David Montgomery, I've already got Jahmyr Gibbs, so I'm going to pass on that. Wide receiver, I'm going to get Cooper Kupp as a flex play. I feel really good about that. So let's continue on forwards after this and see what will be available at the running back position. I want to get some more depth there, maybe at quarterback. Looking at quarterback, yeah, we've gotten to the point where I don't feel like I have to draft a quarterback. The top-notch guys are gone, and honestly, I don't think guys like Joe Burrow or Kyler Murray are, they're just the last two picks that were made are going to be elite at that position. But in between our selections, again, C.J. Stroud, Keenan Allen, Mark Andrews, decent value in Mark Andrews, Dak, Rashee Rice, Tank Dell, Zamir White, Kincaid, Anthony Richardson, T. Higgins, Montgomery, good value on Montgomery there. Zay Flowers, James Conner, Tony Pollard. Will be interesting to see Tony Pollard in Tennessee without Derrick Henry, but is it going to be a true lead back, or is it going to be a committee? I think it's probably going to be the latter, especially after kind of the disappointing season he had last year in Dallas, being the primary guy. Christian Kirk, then Joe Burrow, then Kyler Murray, then George Pickens. So I'm not selecting a quarterback here. I will say, though, look at the value at tight end at this point in time. Evan Ingram, George Kittle, Njoku, Kyle Pitts, all still there. I think that is phenomenal value. But what I think is also really good value is DeAndre Swift still being available at the running back position. I considered him last round. And look, the Bears just paid him. I think he's the best pass-catching running back that they have. He had a good year in Philly this last season. I like DeAndre Swift as a backup here, so I feel good about that. Nick Chubb coming off a major injury. Before I draft him on teams, I need more information to come out on his medical. It's just too big of a question mark at this point in time. He probably plays, but it won't be until halfway of the season. And when he does, it's probably not going to be at 100% of the Nick Chubb that we know. So probably going to pass on that, right? Next, looking at some of these other talents, Terry McLaurin with a new quarterback is pretty exciting in Washington. Calvin Ridley, I don't love Will Levis in Tennessee. Honestly, I like the talent. I don't like the landing spot. DeAndre Hopkins also still there. Then Chris Godwin, Jaden Reed, naming some of these other guys. I like Deontay Johnson. But I'm going to go with Terry McLaurin. I think he's the best value at this point in time. Jaden Daniels in Washington. We'll see what that brings to that team, to that offense. So it's an exciting situation. Now, let's go back to the draft board. There's been some more picks made, and I do see some more rookies in there, so worth mentioning, right? Raheem Mostert afterward, Again, I think that's going to be a mixed backfield. So that's why I'd rather invest in Mostert than one of these other guys, or basically just uh, the guy that has the best value. Jalen Warren, Spears from Tennessee again, around after Tony Pollard, Javonte Williams, Nick Chubb. A lot of dart throws here. Najee Harris, is he going to get traded? Won't he get traded? Is it going to be a committee with Jalen Warren? All possibilities. Huge tight end run in the ninth round, an amazing value. Pitts, Ingram, Kittle, Njoku, Jake Ferguson. Jonathan Brooks was drafted in the ninth round from Carolina, rookie running back from Texas. Problem is, he's coming off an ACL, and it's a crowded backfield in Carolina. You've got Miles Sanders, Hubbard, Rashad Penny just signed there. So honestly, the more I look at it, the more I think Brooks is going to be a year two type of guy. But I do think he has the highest upside there. Now, going back to this board, I think we continue to load up on value. So I'm looking at the value. I think that Calvin Ridley is good value. I think I said it before, Deontay Johnson, Marquise Brown, I really like the values there. I'm probably going to go with Deontay Johnson, honestly. I think that Deontay Johnson is the primary guy at the wide receiver position in Carolina. I trust Bryce Young more than I do Levis, and I do think that the Panthers have upgraded that situation there offensively. So I'm going to go Deontay Johnson. I'm not going to get too high grades probably because Calvin Ridley's still there. Looking at the other running backs, I don't love the situations. So let's just go with a guy that I like in Deontay Johnson, like I said. And then we will make a couple more selections and, get close to calling this thing complete. Now, we could get really greedy and go with the TJ Hawkinson. Obviously, coming off a major injury, Kirk Cousins no longer there, so there are question marks. Let's wait another round before potentially adding Hawkinson. We could go quarterback here, and pretty much everyone has a quarterback already. I'm not a Jordan Love truther or Brock Purdy or Tua. Justin Herbert, I think probably the best talent out of everyone remaining. Kirk Cousins, when is he going to come back? Those are all valid questions. And is he going to come back at 100%? I'll just draft Justin Herbert here because, I think the talent is going to win out. And then I'm probably going to draft a upside quarterback in the later rounds that I like as a backup. And I'll feel pretty good about that. Oh, okay, so we see TJ Hawkinson go. It is what it is. I'm not too worried about it. Again, I've got Travis Kelce. I think we're going to still get a decent performance from him. Dalton Schultz, also available. Dallas Goedert is there as well. I think probably Dallas Goedert I feel a little bit better about, even though it's crowded pass catchers in both situations. But I think the upside for Goddard a little bit higher. So what I'm going to do here, let me see if there's any other wide receivers that are really good value. Marquise Brown is still there. I think he's a really good value, actually. I'm going to go to Marquise Brown. And then question is, do we go with another quarterback here? Do we go to back up Justin Herbert in case he isn't the best? Or do we go a backup tight end? I'm going to go with the backup quarterback. And I'm going to go with the guy that I believe in. I know the rankings aren't going to reflect that. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to absolutely tear it up this season coming back from his injury. And I'm not going to get a high draft grade because of it. But again, it's still early. It happens every single season at the quarterback position. I think that this is a situation where, if you believe in the talent, you're going to invest in it, and that's what I'm going to do here. Quickly looking at these last couple of picks, you see Blake Corum, a rookie there. Trey Benson, I think Benson probably maybe better value than Jonathan Brooks at this point in time, so I like that there. But let's make our final selection, see the draft grade that we get. I'm assuming it might be like a C or a D, something like that, but I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, we get a C grade, but again, I think part of it is because of the quarterback situation. I'm much higher on these two guys than Fantasy Pros is, and I think that we might have lost some points because we have so many wide receivers, but man, our depth there is amazing. And I feel pretty good about our running backs as well. Gibbs, Aaron Jones, we got DeAndre Swift. So again, this is what's going to happen with these 10-team leagues. They're going to be a little bit top heavy, but I think we did a good job of getting great player values when it was presented to us. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. And in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.